Commander Jake Mitchell stood on the bridge of the USS Harmony, watching the stars blur into white lines as they dropped out of faster-than-light travel. His heart raced with excitement. Today would make history. For the first time, humans would meet alien life, and not just any aliens, an entire galactic government. "Sensors reading 5 large ships ahead, Commander," called out Ben Harper from his captain's chair. "They're massive, unlike anything we've seen." Jake nodded, gripping the railing. 3 months ago, Earth had received a message, strange symbols, that the computers finally decoded. Humanity acknowledged. "Come to these coordinates. Bring peace." Dr. Lisa Chang looked up from her workstation, her hands shaking slightly as she read her screens. "I'm detecting life signs from all 5 ships. Different biopatterns. Jake, these aren't just aliens, these are multiple alien species all in one place." Ambassador Kate Williams smoothed her formal uniform and stepped forward. "Remember, everyone? This is what we've dreamed of. Peaceful contact with our cosmic neighbors. We show them the best of humanity today." The view screen lit up with an image that made everyone gasp. 5 different alien faces appeared, each more strange than the last. One had scales and yellow eyes. Another seemed made of pure energy. A third had too many insect-like eyes to count. The fourth looked like a machine with a glowing core where its face should be. The last appeared to be made of living plants. "Greetings, humans of Earth," spoke the reptilian one, its voice rough like gravel. "I am Commander Zeth of the Zelathi. These are representatives of the Galactic Council. The Vortari, Kryn, Morak, and Fenari." Jake stepped forward. "I am Commander Jake Mitchell of the United Space Coalition. We come in peace, ready to join the galaxy as friends and equals." The 5 aliens exchanged glances. The plant-like Fenari leaned forward. "Your development concerns us, young species. You achieved faster-than-light travel in mere decades. Others took thousands of years." "We're innovators," Lisa said proudly. "We learn quickly and adapt, that's just who we are." The machine-like Morak's glowing eye blinked. "Adaptation and rapid change disrupt order. The galaxy has known peace for 10,000 years through careful control of advancement." Kate extended her hands in a gesture of openness. "We're not here to disrupt anything. We want to learn from you, share our discoveries, grow together as a galactic community." The energy being, the Vortari, pulsed with shifting colors. "Your enthusiasm is noted but concerning. The young often lack wisdom." Jake felt something was wrong. The aliens didn't seem welcoming. They seemed afraid. "We understand if we seem different," he said carefully, "but difference doesn't mean danger. Humanity has much to offer." Commander Zeth's yellow eyes narrowed. "Yes, that is precisely the problem." The screen suddenly went dead. Red lights began flashing on every console. Ben shouted, "Shields up!" Multiple energy signatures targeting our escort ships. Jake watched in horror as the 3 ships that had accompanied them burst into flames and debris. Massive alien warships decloaked all around them, weapons charged and ready. "This is a trap," Lisa screamed as the Harmony shuddered under weapon fire. "Open a channel to Earth," Jake ordered, but Ben was already shaking his head. "Communications jammed. We can't warn them." Kate stared at the chaos, her diplomatic hopes crumbling. "Why? We came in peace." The view screen flickered back to life. Commander Zeth appeared again, this time wearing armor and surrounded by armed soldiers. "Because peace is what we already have, humans. Your kind threatens that with your unpredictable nature, your creativity, your refusal to accept limits." More hits struck the Harmony. Systems began failing. Jake grabbed the communication panel with dying power and broadcast to Earth. "First contact compromised. They fear our innovation. Prepare for war." The ship rocked violently. Ben was thrown from his chair as sparks flew everywhere. "Hull, breach in multiple sections. We need to abandon ship." Jake watched their beautiful first contact dissolve into nightmare. Everything humanity had hoped for, worked for, was burning around them. As his crew scrambled for escape pods, he realized they weren't just being attacked. They were being judged, found guilty of being different, of being human. Through the smoking bridge, he saw Lisa pulling injured crew members toward safety. Kate had abandoned her formal coat to tie tourniquets on wounded officers. Even as their ship died, humans were helping each other, adapting to survive. Metal screamed as the Harmony twisted and broke. Jake made it to an escape pod just as the atmosphere caught fire. His last view was of alien ships approaching, not to kill, but to capture. Through the small window, he saw other escape pods being caught in tractor beams. As his pod slowed and was pulled toward a massive alien prison ship, Jake understood something terrible. This wasn't just first contact gone wrong. This was a declaration of war by an entire galaxy that feared what humanity might become. The pod was pulled into darkness, and Jake Mitchell, the human who had dreamed of peaceful stars, prepared for whatever came next. But in his heart, one thought burned bright. If they feared human innovation now, they had no idea what humans could do when threatened. Earth would hear their warning. Earth would understand. And somewhere in his captured heart, Jake knew this was only the beginning of a war that would change everything. 5 years. Jake Mitchell had been counting the days on the cold metal wall of his cell. 5 years since the USS Harmony exploded. 5 years since his world changed forever. The prison moon of Xerion was a harsh place. 3 suns burned in the sky, but somehow it was always cold. The gravity was too heavy, making every step feel like running with weights. Jake and his crew were kept in separate cells, but at least they were in the same block. Another day in paradise, Ben Harper called, from the cell next to Jake's. His voice was different now, harder. 5 years of prison did that to people. Jake stretched his arms, hearing the familiar creak in his shoulders. Any word from Lisa this morning? She's working in the medical bay again, Ben said. Heard she fixed 3 broken translator units yesterday. That Kryn doctor keeps asking for her. Jake smiled despite himself. Lisa Chang had become the prison's unofficial tech expert. While the guards thought she was just helping with medical equipment, Jake knew better. Lisa was studying alien technology, learning how different species built things. Every day she was getting smarter, more dangerous. Jake? A voice whispered from the vent above. You listening? I'm here, Kim. Jake recognized the voice of Kim Patel, a human who had arrived 3 years ago. The guards had caught her trying to smuggle medicine to refugee camps. The new prisoner talks about Earth, Kim said softly. Says things are different now. Jake pressed his ear closer to the vent. News from Earth was rare and precious. There's no more fighting among ourselves, Kim continued. No more wars between countries. After the Harmony disappeared, everyone united. They call it the Earth Defense Initiative, everyone working together to prepare for alien attack. Jake felt something stir in his chest. Hope, maybe. Or pride. Humanity had finally come together. A guard's footsteps echoed down the hall. The vent went quiet. Later that day, Jake was assigned to the garden duty. The Fenari prisoners maintained a large greenhouse, growing food for the prison. Jake actually enjoyed this work. The Fenari were different from other aliens. They seemed sad about the war, like they didn't want to be part of it. Human Jake called Silva, a Fenari with silver bark skin. Come help with the quantum fertilizers. Jake walked over. The Fenari used advanced technology even for gardening. Everything was connected through what they called the root network. Plants that could communicate with each other. I don't understand your species, Silva said quietly, checking if guards were watching. You learn so fast, too fast, they say. But I think fast learning is good. Thank you, Jake said, mixing the strange green fertilizer. We just see things differently. Silva's leaf-like fingers touched a plant, and Jake saw data flowing through thin silver lines. The Council fears different. They made rules after the Great War 10,000 years ago. No species can advance quickly. No new technologies unless approved. Peace through control. But that's not peace, Jake said. That's just stopping. Exactly. Silva looked around nervously. Some of us remember the time before, when new ideas weren't dangerous, when different was good. That night, Jake lay on his hard bed thinking about Earth. Somewhere out there, humanity was preparing, coming together, while he was stuck here learning alien languages and fixing alien machines by day, planning escape routes by night. Jake, Ben's voice came through the wall vent. Lisa sent a message. Jake pressed his ear against the cold metal. What'd she say? She found something. In the medical records. Humans are different. Our brains work differently. We connect ideas that other species can't. That's why we innovate so fast. Jake's heart raced. What kind of different? Something called neural plasticity. Our brains change and adapt faster than anyone else's. We can understand tech from all 5 species and combine them in ways they never imagined. Lisa thinks that's why they're scared of us. Jake laughed quietly. We're too creative for them. Apparently. And Jake? I've been talking to some Morak prisoners in the work detail. They're curious about us. Their whole civilization runs on logic, but some of them are starting to ask questions that don't have logical answers. Over the next months, Jake noticed changes throughout the prison. Humans were somehow infecting other species with new ideas. Lisa wasn't just fixing equipment anymore. She was improving it, making it work better than before. Ben was teaching other inmates games that required creative thinking. Kim was sharing human music which apparently no other species had developed. The guards noticed too. They started separating humans from other species during free time. But it was too late. Ideas had already spread. One day during garden duty, Silva pulled Jake aside urgently. There's talk of moving all humans to isolation, complete separation. They're afraid of what you're doing to us. What are we doing? Silva's wooden face almost smiled. Making us think differently, making us question, making us human-like. That night, Jake called a meeting through the vent system. Every human in their cell block could hear each other. They're going to isolate us, he announced. Split us up completely. Once that happens, escape becomes impossible. How long do we have? Asked Lisa. Kim heard 2 weeks, maybe less. Then we do it now, said Ben. Everything we've planned, everything we've learned, we break out before they separate us. Jake closed his eyes, thinking of Earth, thinking of humanity united, and waiting, thinking of what he'd learned about alien technology, about different ways of thinking, about combining ideas in new ways. We'll need every human working together, he said, and every alien friend we've made. It's time to show them what human innovation really means. In the darkness of his cell, Jake Mitchell smiled. For 5 years, they'd been prisoners. Now it was time to be human again. The alarm rang at exactly 0400 hours. Jake Mitchell's eyes snapped open. Today was the day. For the past week, Lisa Chang had been working extra shifts in the medical bay. She wasn't just fixing equipment anymore. She was building something new. A device that would disable the prison's communication systems when the guard shift changed. Ben, you ready? Jake whispered through the wall vent. Born ready, came the reply. The Morak prisoners left those power cells exactly where I asked. Their guards never checked the waste processing area. Jake took a deep breath. The plan was simple but risky. During the prisoner transfer to the isolation wing, they would make their move. Lisa's device would cut communications. Ben would overload the power grid. Jake would lead the human prisoners to the transport bay. The hardest part was leaving allies behind. They couldn't take everyone. Hours crawled by like years. Finally, the morning buzzer sounded. Guards marched down the hallway, their heavy boots echoing off metal walls. Transfer detail. All humans to the main corridor, shouted the head guard, a Zalathi with missing scales from old battles. Jake's heart pounded as he stepped out of his cell. 12 humans gathered in the narrow hallway. Lisa caught his eye and gave a tiny nod. She had the device hidden in her medical kit. Move. The guards herded them forward like cattle. As they walked, Jake saw Silva the Fenari pretending to water plants near the junction. The plant being's leafy arm brushed against the wall. Moments later, a tiny green light blinked 3 times. The signal. Everything was ready. They reached the main corridor where 2 transport vehicles waited. Guards were everywhere, weapons ready. Jake's stomach twisted. So many guns. "Load up. Humans in the first transport," ordered the guard captain. That's when Lisa's device activated. Every communication panel suddenly went dead. The lights flickered as power surged through the prison systems. "What's happening?" a guard shouted, tapping his dead radio. "Check the main." That's when the lights went out completely. Jake didn't hesitate. Now. In the darkness, chaos erupted. Years of fighting in prison had taught the humans to move in the dark. Guards fired wildly at shadows. Lisa threw smoke grenades she'd built from medical supplies. Ben led a group toward the vehicle bay. Jake ran straight for the transport pilot. In the confusion, he tackled the alien and grabbed the control key. "Lisa, the comm device." "Already on it," she shouted back, connecting her hacked device to the transport system. "We've got control, 10 seconds. The emergency lights flickered on. Jake saw wounded guards and running prisoners. The escape was working, but barely. "All humans, to the transport," Jake ordered. But something went wrong. Captain Ben Harper stood at the entrance to the transport bay, holding off 3 armed guards. He was bleeding. "Ben, come on, go," Ben shouted, firing a stolen weapon. "Get the others out." Jake hesitated. "Leave Ben behind?" "Impossible. Jake." Lisa grabbed his arm. "We can't save everyone today. Go. Ben knows what he's doing." Jake looked into his friend's eyes. Ben nodded once, then turned back to the guards. The sound of weapons fire increased. With a heart full of pain, Jake ran to the transport. The others were already climbing aboard. Lisa started the engines. "Wait," came a voice. Kim Patel ran toward them, dragging an injured Fenari. "Silva helped. Us, we can't leave them." Jake pulled both of them into the transport. "Anyone else?" "No time," Lisa shouted over the engine noise. "Prison security will be here in minutes." Jake slammed the transport door shut. Through the window, he saw Ben one last time. The brave captain gave them a thumbs up before disappearing. In smoke and gunfire, the transport launched into the cold space above Zarion. As the prison moon shrunk behind them, reality hit. They were free, but at what cost? "Where do we go?" asked Kim, nursing a broken arm. "We can't go to Earth. They'll track us." "I know a place," said Silva weakly. The plant being was hurt, but alive. The deep void, where the galaxy's outcasts hide. Jake stared at the stars ahead. They weren't just escaped prisoners anymore. They were refugees, rebels, survivors. "Set course for the deep void," he ordered Lisa. "And send out a coded message on human frequencies. Others need to know we're still fighting." As the stolen transport jumped to light speed, Jake thought about Ben Harper, about sacrifice, about what it meant to be human in a galaxy that feared them. The stars blurred into white lines, carrying them toward an uncertain future. But they were free, and that changed everything. Days later, they reached the deep void, an area of space where gravity worked strangely and sensors failed. Perfect for hiding. What they found there amazed them. Ships of all types and sizes hidden in the cosmic darkness. Pirates, rebels, traders, scientists, all refugees from the Galactic Council's control. "I'm looking for humans," Jake announced, as they docked at a small station made from salvaged parts. A woman with short black hair and scarred arms stepped forward. "I'm Maya Rodriguez. Escaped Earth 3 years ago when the attack started. We've been waiting for someone like you." Jake shook her hand. "Someone like me. Someone with new ideas. Someone who can unite the races who think differently. Someone human." Maya led them through the crowded station. Everywhere, Jake saw aliens and humans working together, building things, planning things. "This is the underground," Maya explained. "We've been working for years to resist the Council's control. And now, with everything you learned in prison with the tech you can combine, Jake Mitchell, you and your people just became our greatest hope." Jake looked around at the bustling station of rebels. His escape was just the beginning. The real work was about to start. "Then let's get to work," he said simply. And let's make sure Ben Harper didn't die for nothing. 6 months after the prison escape, Jake Mitchell stood in the war room of the underground base. Maps of the galaxy covered every wall. Red marks showed council strongholds. Blue marks showed resistance cells. White marks showed uncertainty. Uno, Fortory Control Station on Nexus 7. Maya Rodriguez pointed to a large red mark. They guard it with everything they've got. If we can shut it down, we free every Vortari slave in 3 systems, Jake finished. Lisa, is your team ready? Dr. Lisa Chang nodded. Her hands were covered in oil stains from working on hybrid ships. The quantum splicer is complete. It combines Vortari energy tech with Kryn matter manipulation. Never been done before. Because it's impossible, added Alex Johnson, a new recruit Jake had met last week. Which is exactly why it'll work. Jake smiled. The underground had grown from a dozen ships to over 200. Word spread fast when humans started winning impossible battles. What about the Kryn situation? Jake asked. Kim Patel stepped forward. I've made contact with 3 Kryn subhives. They're ready to question their main hive mind. First time in their history. Jake still marveled at what humans were doing to the galaxy. Not through force, but through ideas. Questioning, wondering, dreaming differently. First mission tonight, he decided. Alex, you lead the Vortari station assault. Lisa provides tech support. I want clean, quick, and quiet. That night, Jake monitored the mission from the communications center. Alex's voice crackled through speakers. We're in position. Those new stealth fields work great, Lisa. The guards can't see us. Remember, Jake said into his microphone, we're not just freeing Vortari. We're sending a message. Copy that. Beginning approach now. Through live feeds, Jake watched Alex's team move like ghosts. They used Morak cloaking, Fenari biosignatures, and human tactics all mixed together. The guards never saw them coming. Guards neutralized. Non-lethal as ordered, Alex reported. Accessing the control room. Lisa's fingers flew over keyboards. I've got remote access. Disabling their alarms. Wow, look at this. Jake, the Vortari, aren't just powering the station. They're powering half the council fleet. Jake's mind raced. This was bigger than they thought. Alex, how many Vortari are we looking at? Hundreds, maybe thousands. They're chained to energy collectors. Jake, this is slavery on a massive scale. Begin extraction. All of them. Every single one. That's a lot of energy beings, boss. Our ships will be crowded. Then we get more ships. Nobody gets left behind. 2 hours later, Alex's team returned victorious. Freed Vortari filled their transport ships, glowing with colors Jake had never seen before. Colors of joy. Commander Jake, said one of the Vortari elders, its energy form pulsing blue and gold. For 3,000 years we powered their machines. You freed us in one night. How? We thought differently, Jake said simply. Want to help us do it again? News of the successful mission spread across both underground and council networks. The whisper began. Humans did the impossible again. Over the next months, Jake led more missions. Each one seemed impossible. Each one succeeded. They woke up confused Kryn by showing them mathematical dreams that didn't fit their hive logic. Thousands of Kryn began thinking as individuals for the first time. They introduced music to Morak systems, causing what the machines called pleasant errors in their pure logic. Entire Morak factories stopped producing weapons and started creating art, but the biggest change was happening through Kevin Park, a human who had merged his consciousness with underground AI systems. Jake, you need to see this, Kevin called, from his neural link station. I've been analyzing council communication patterns. What did you find? They're terrified. Listen to this intercepted message. Kevin played an audio file. The humans must be contained. A Zalati voice snarled. Their infection is spreading. Even our own species begin to ask questions we've forbidden for millennia. Perhaps questions are not the danger, replied a Morak voice. Perhaps answers are. That's not pure Morak logic, said a Kryn voice, confused. You're thinking with creativity. Jake turned to Kevin. Is this real? It's happening everywhere. Our operations aren't just freeing slaves or disrupting supply lines. We're changing how species think. the council's beginning to break apart from the inside. That night, Jake couldn't sleep. Everything was happening faster than planned. Maya found him in the observation deck staring at the stars. "Penny for your thoughts?" she asked. "We're winning," Jake said, "and I'm worried about it." "Why?" "Because we didn't set out to conquer them. We just wanted to be free. But now, we're changing the entire galaxy." Maya sat beside him. Maybe the galaxy needed changing, maybe. But at what cost? Before Maya could answer, alarms wailed throughout the base. Emergency lights flashed red. "Council forces," someone shouted. "Massive fleet approaching. They found us." Jake ran to the command center. The tactical display showed hundreds of council ships converging on the deep void. "They're not just attacking us," Lisa said grimly. "They're bringing everything. Every species. This isn't a battle, Jake. This is total war." Jake finished. The galaxy's fear of human innovation had finally exploded into open warfare. The Shadow War was over. The real fight was about to begin. Jake looked around the command center. Humans, Vortari, Kryn, Morak, even Fenari stood together, ready to face the largest fleet ever assembled. "All right, everyone," Jake announced. "They want to see what happens when humans fight for real? Let's show them what we've learned." Outside the window, 1,000 stars glittered. Tomorrow, Jake knew, many of them might go dark, but tonight, they still shone with possibility. The council fleet filled the view screen like an ocean of stars. Ships of every council species formed the largest armada in galactic history. "Battle stations," Jake Mitchell shouted across the command deck. "This is it." Around him, humans and aliens worked together seamlessly. Lisa Chang coordinated weapon systems while Kevin Park managed fleet communications through his neural link. Maya Rodriguez led fighter squadrons and Alex Johnson commanded the main defensive grid. "Jake," Kevin said, his voice echoing with digital overlay. "They're broadcasting on all channels. Put it through." Commander Zeth's scarred face appeared on screen. "Humans of the underground, you have infected the galaxy with your chaos. Surrender now and we will make your end quick." Jake stepped forward. "We're not surrendering, Commander, and we're not just fighting for ourselves anymore. You fight for outlaws and rebels. We fight for the right to grow, to change, to be different." Zeth's yellow eyes narrowed. "Your differences will die today." The channel closed. Jake took a deep breath and turned to his mixed crew. Humans stood next to Vortari energy beings. Fenari plant people typed on keyboards with their root fingers, and even some young Kryn worked independent of their hives. "You all know what's at stake," Jake said simply. "Not just our lives, but the future of every species' right to evolve, to ask questions, to dream differently." "For Ben," someone shouted from the back. "For Ben," the crew echoed. Suddenly, the council fleet opened fire. Space lit up with weapons fire. The underground base shuddered as shields took hits. "Return fire," Lisa commanded. "Pattern Delta." But Jake had something else in mind. "Lisa, launch the network protocol." Lisa grinned. "You sure? We've never tested it in actual combat." "Do it." Lisa activated humanity's most ambitious creation. Project Network linked every underground ship into a single fighting unit while keeping each pilot's creativity intact. It was like a hive mind that encouraged individuality. The effect was immediate and stunning. Underground ships began dancing through space in impossible patterns. Human creativity combined with alien technologies created movements no single species could predict. Ships phased through dimensions like Vortari, hardened like Zelathi battle armor, analyzed patterns like Morak computers, and healed damage like Fenari biological systems. "What are they doing?" Zeth's voice crackled over intercepted communications. "These movements are impossible," Jake smiled. "We're being human." The battle raged for hours. Council ships fell, but so did underground vessels. Every loss hurt, but the tide was turning. Then something unexpected happened. "Jake!" Kevin shouted. "Council ships are powering down. Not destroyed, they're surrendering." "Which ones?" "3. Morak dreadnoughts and a Kryn hive carrier." Jake opened a channel. Council ships powering down, state your intentions. A Morak voice responded, tinged with something Jake had never heard from their species. Uncertainty. We have calculated. A new probability. Human innovation does not equal threat, it equals opportunity. We choose change over fear, added a Kryn voice. Individual Kryn request asylum. Jake's heart raced. It was spreading. The idea of thinking differently. All council defectors, you're welcome here. Position yourselves away from the battle. Sown. The defections grew. Morak ships asked permission to redesign their weapons into tools. Kryn warriors left their hives to think alone. Even some Xanathi warriors laid down their arms, curious about this human concept called peace. By the battle's end, the council fleet had split in half. Some still fought to preserve the old order. Others joined the new way. Commander Zeth's face appeared one final time. You've destroyed everything we built. No, Jake said calmly. We've helped it grow. The galaxy will fall into chaos. Jake looked around his diverse crew, working together, despite their differences. Maybe chaos isn't so bad. Maybe it's just another word for possibility. The remaining council ships retreated. The old order was broken. 10 years later, Jake Mitchell stood on Earth, looking up at a sky filled with ships from 100 different species. Children played in parks where alien trees grew alongside earth oaks. Schools taught both human creativity and Morak logic, Fenari biology and Vortari energy manipulation. Lisa walked up beside him, her hair now gray but her eyes still bright with curiosity. The new Galactic Alliance voted to officially recognize innovative thinking as a fundamental right today. About time, Jake smiled. They watched a group of young beings, human, Kryn, Morak, and others, playing a game that mixed rules from 6 different cultures. The children laughed as they made up new rules together. Think we did the right thing? Lisa asked. Jake thought of Ben Harper, who died so they could escape, of all the lives lost and changed, of a galaxy that now dared to ask questions and dream. We showed them that different isn't dangerous, he said, that growing and changing isn't something to fear. Above them, a ship landed bearing the symbol of the new Galactic Alliance, a circle of many colors with a small spiral at its heart. The spiral represented continuous growth and change. A child ran up to Jake, tugging his sleeve. Sir, my teacher says you started the war that changed everything, is that true? Jake knelt down. We didn't start a war, kid. We started a conversation, and the whole galaxy finally decided to listen. The child smiled and ran back to play. Jake straightened, watching the stars that had once held only fear now twinkle with infinite possibility. The whisper was no longer feared. Now it was welcomed, and the galaxy would never be the same.